Alright guys, this is going to be my first live Blitz game with commentary. I'm playing on the chess.com server, and my opponent opens up with d4. I'm going to play knight f6, one of the least committing moves. Well, that's a little unusual. I'm not really used to seeing that. So, I'm just going to chip away that pawn. My opponent develops to defend it. I've never had this played against me before, so this is kind of new for me anyway. I don't really know what I'm doing. This opening isn't going to be very instructive. He can en passant right now if he wants, but it'll let me develop my light squared bishop. Okay, so he chooses to do that. So I develop my bishop with tempo. Brings his knight out. He's just playing developing moves. I have to watch. I kind of feel like my D pawn's a little bit backward, although it isn't really. I just kind of feel like it is. Maybe I'm gonna go for a fianchetto setup. I'm not sure. Yeah, well, if I do that, my D pawn's gonna be weaker. I think I'm just gonna develop that bishop, do a little bit more passive square, but just castle here. This is a 5-minute game, so I have to play pretty quick. Okay, he's advancing. He's gonna try to pawn storm me on the king side. Sorry about that. Need to watch that. Okay, well his king's in the center, so I should try to open up the center. Isn't that a rule or something when your opponent attacks on the flanks? You strike back in the center? I don't know who said that. Okay. I could move my knight. I think I'm going to do that. And go for opening up the D file. Okay, he plays his queen out. He's threatening my pawn now. I think I'm just... I want to pin his knight to his king there. He might be castling queenside soon. If he does it here, I'll just take the knight and force him to double and isolate his pawns. Which I don't know if he'll do. He's a little bit lower rating than me, but you never really can tell on these servers. I'm going to go and take his bishop and try to open the position now that I have the bishop pair. I can put a little bit of pressure. He threatened to double his pawns here. At least that's what I'm hoping to do with this move. Just kind of destroy his structure and go from there. Yes, so that's what's going to happen. He's going to have an isolated H pawn and two doubled isolated C pawns. Actually, it's not the H pawn. His H pawn is going to be isolated. It's going to be his A pawn. I'm sorry. Okay, so he chose not to take the queens off the board, I guess, to increase his attacking chances. I am going to move my knight to c5 and try to jump into e4. Looks like a pretty good square for right now. My opponent has a little bit more time than I do. I'm just going to kick his knight here. I don't care if he takes my bishop. It's a little bit passive. I can take back with the f pawn, and now I have an open file for my rook, and my knight's still looking. I'm still going to jump in here. Looks like I'm going to win his one doubled c pawn. Doubled isolated pawns are really easy to attack, as they can only be defended by the pieces. So I think I'm just going to win this pawn here. So I'm a pawn up. And it looks like his f-pawn's falling now with this fork I just played. And I have a rook on the 7th. He's got to watch. He can't move his rook, his H rook rather. Well, now it doesn't matter. I was gonna say I'd be able to. He's got to watch because the rook is defending his bishop, but that's no longer the case. So he's threatening to double and isolate my pawns. How do I feel about that? I don't think it matters because that pawn will become passed. I'm just going to double rooks here. And if he takes... Okay, well then what I just said doesn't matter. I was going to give him a check. If he takes, I'm going to give him a check, force one of his rooks off, force his king to move, and take the other rook, and then take the bishop, and then I should be able to win that ending. I gotta watch my time still. I'm just playing the rook here so I don't have to double my pawns. And I'm running low on time. I have to start making some more quick moves. I'm advancing my c-pawn so I can put the question to his bishop. I think he moved his king so he can move his rook to the open b file. Yeah, that's what he did. So I'm just gonna defend that pawn. He might push his a pawn. Right, okay, so he did take my knight, and I don't need to double my pawns for anything. He gives a check, but this doesn't really do anything other than get his rook on the file. He can't infiltrate on the 7th, not yet, and I'm just going to start pawn munching. And then after that, I'll just drop my other rook down to the 7th rank and double on the 7th. Oh, and okay, he resigned. So, good first match. Oh, he wants to rematch? Sure, I'll play him again. Okay, I'm white. d4, d5. If you've seen my other videos, you know I'm a fan of the Queen's Gambit. This is the Queen's Gambit declined. Okay, that's not the best move in this position. Usually in the Queen's Gambit, black wants to play for advancing his c-pawn. So usually that knight's going to go to d7 and not c6. And him putting it on there just prevents c-pawn. And usually you want to wait for white to move their light square bishop before you take white's c-pawn, like you just did there, because I got an extra move, or I got a free move with my bishop, rather, my light square bishop, because I didn't move it before he took my c-pawn. How do I want to play this? I think I'm going to move my rook to the open file. That's usually where that rook goes, right? I think so. Okay, I'd like to keep my light square bishop. It's often a very good attacking piece in the Queen's Gambit. Okay, I have a good setup. I can go for this bishop sacrifice since he doesn't have a knight on f6 and his g5 square isn't guarded. This is a really classical sacrifice when you have the knight on f3, the queen still on d1, and the bishop on that diagonal, because I can just put my queen here, and he doesn't have a good way to stop either mate or a lot of material loss. So this was a good example. Usually black will have either this diagonal opened up for the queen, like this knight wouldn't be here, or darks for bishop, and then the knight couldn't come to g5, and that's what makes this possible now. And they didn't have the knight on f6 to defend the h7 square. So that's why this sacrifice worked in this position. I I think his only move right now is to move his rook to... Okay, he resigned there. So those were two games, and I'm going to leave it at that. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed.